Hello, and welcome to the Menopause Mindshift Self-Love Podcast, where we are shifting the way women do menopause. I am your host, the menopause queen, Lisa R. Triggs, menopause mindset expert, best-selling author, and speaker. Today, let's dive into something that you might find a little tough to swallow. But let me ask you this. Are you outsourcing your happiness? Are you looking for approval from everyone else outside? Your spouse, your kids, your boss. These are all external sources of validation, when the only validation that really matters is that within yourself. So it's time to invest in the most important relationship of all, and that's the one that's in here, inside, with yourself. Today, let's talk about unlocking some of these secrets, these paths to joy, so that we can forge an unshakable path to self-love for lasting happiness, inside and out. There may be some women who are just so self-confident in themselves. They have just been raised with the utmost confidence. And I'm not saying they're not out there. I'm sure they are. They have been raised with the utmost confidence to have in themselves. They love themselves enough that they probably don't have any issues in menopause. They don't need outside things because they know within themselves that they are worthy, that they are valued, they are lovable, they are loved. These are all things to consider when we're talking about happiness and joy and your own happiness. But here's the truth. It's a choice. So yes, I can sit here and I can tell you, you can do this, and these practices will help you find that self-love. That is absolutely true. Because these are all things that are stepping stones in helping develop that, to help reinforce it. But the absolute truth is, it's also a choice. Think about it for a second. It's a choice we make to be happy and joyful. These are choices. You can choose whether you're going to let somebody else dictate how you feel about yourself, or how you're going to choose to feel about yourself in here. And yes, all these things I talk about are practices that help you build it. But there's also an innate. It also comes along with the choice. It works hand in hand. It works together. It works as a couple. These things are all connected. I can't say it enough. So much in what we do, say, think, practice in life is connected. There's a chain reaction. Yes, I'm going to practice and build these things up. I am going to release negativity. I'm going to meditate. Those are all wonderful things that help me build my own self-confidence, help me raise my energy, help me give out the vibration, build that. I choose to do those practices to build those blocks. They are each building blocks in the platform of happiness and joy. I choose to do those things. So, but here's the thing. I can do that now. I can say with confidence now that I can just choose. But it took me time to use those practices to build myself to that place where I am now to be able to do that. Last year or 2 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do that, where I say, you know what? One day, just morning, I'm going to choose and decide that it's going to be a great day. It's going to be the best day ever. That is a choice. Last year and 2 years ago, that would have been a very difficult thing to choose, to say, and to commit to in the morning when I got up. But through practicing it, because we know that repetition becomes habit. Repetition creates habitual things in our mind, in the brain. That's why when we study for a test, the more we study, the more we remember. We want that muscle memory. The muscle memory builds and builds and builds and builds. Now, I could probably go through and have a wonderful day, but without writing things down. But I choose to, because I like to. I like to take that time for myself. That's me time. I like to take that time for myself in the morning and put my headphones on and listen to a Solfeggio frequency. I choose which one am I feeling today. Do I need a little boost of energy? Is my body physically 100% today? Maybe I need to listen to 174 to help relieve any physical pain I might be feeling. And then while I'm listening to that, tell my body and write it down. My body is in perfect health. And that might be what I would have meditated on or centered around that morning, is that perfect health. These are choices I make. And I'm not going it from here to here to here, from left to right to center, because it's all connected. There are people that hate writing and hate journaling, and that's fine. But it can also be a very helpful stepping stone. So maybe there's something else you might do instead, then, or maybe you prefer to uh, say things to yourself throughout the day. Talk to yourself. Talking to yourself is probably mostly is more of a sign of intelligence than it is a sign of weakness, because you're affirming to yourself. You're telling yourself, yeah, I'm great. This is going to be a great day. This is an awesome day. And I do that to myself. If I am in a situation, things are out of my control, something I really wanted is not going to happen, or something unexpected is happening that is not in a positive way, or I feel myself, you know what, I'm starting to have a negative reaction to this. Oftentimes I will say, oh, okay, and I take a breath. I practice what I've been taught myself. And I say, sometimes out loud, everything is working out for me. This is all good. It's 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 all good. That is a technique that I use to help get me through a stressful moment in time. And it works for me. And then the next day when they have the opportunity, I will, or wherever, I might write about that again, how I felt in that situation, or that I was so grateful that that situation worked out for me. Call them scientific techniques. They all have the same result. In my case, it's menopause symptoms. Yeah, these things improve your life, but menopause symptoms are a part of it. It just is, because, again, it's all connected. So when we treat our bodies right and fuel it right and move it, and we're creating our own, producing our own hormones, we're producing our own endorphins and dopamine, and these are all good things that help make us happy. Then that, while you're in that happy state, while that vibration is up, you're so more inclined to be able to go and do that next thing and the next, and it just feeds off of itself again. So waking up in the morning and making that choice to be happy and owning that happiness yourself, not giving it away, not looking for that validation from outside. Now, and you might be thinking, or some of you might be thinking, okay, I have to look for validation from my boss because, that's my livelihood. And if I don't get validation from him, I won't get my next raise, all that kind of stuff. Okay. But I'm talking about inherent validation, not in performance. Job performance is one thing, but here's the thing. If you have that confidence, if exhibit that happiness and choose that, and you give it, and you don't give it away, you actually will automatically get the validation that you're seeking. And you won't be having to slave or kill yourself in your job, work all kinds of hours because you're trying to prove choices you're making yourself. All the other things in life come easier. So you know what? Your boss is going to give you that validation. Validation. You're probably going to get that raise because you are more productive, because you are living your life in a more positive, delightful energy. Your people want to work with you. You get things done. You're not letting things get stressed to you when you get a project piled on. You're taking a deep breath and you're going, I got this. I got this. What tools do I have at my disposal that I can use to get this job done efficiently? That's the boss is gonna appreciate that, because you're effective, you're organized, you're getting the job done. But if you're going in there all, oh my God, I got so much work to do. My boss is so demanding. I am so stressed out, and oh my God, I can't think. I can't think. My brain is foggy. I'm having hot flashes all the time. You saw m You can even hear it in my own voice as I say it. My whole demeanor has changed because I'm like, what do you physically see from that, right? My facial expression, all that. Anybody who's listening, the difference you hear in the tone of my voice, right? I was excited a minute ago. I was flying high. We were excited. And now I'm like, ugh. Choice, perception, keeping it, investing in yourself and your own well-being. I'll tell you a little story. Something real life story that happened to me. I was in my early 30s and um, I had my children. They were a couple of years old, and we decided that it was a good time for me to start looking for a job. So I looked for businesses that were within a half-hour drive from my home. And my husband came with me around at the time. He said, "You got this." In those days, I went with my paper resume in hand. And I was a little bit nervous. I had been out of the workforce for probably 5 years, full time anyway. I had done some fill in work, part time work, on and off. So, um, and it was administrative work. So my husband drove me. We went. I chose a few local businesses that were, it happened to be, this was like 10 minutes from my house. That was great. That we happened to be kind of in an industrial area where there's a bunch of businesses. And this major global cosmetic firm happened to be the Canadian office was one of them. So I took my resume and um, I went into a few, dropped them off. So, this is what I'm doing just in case you're hiring. And, this one I went in, they have a reception area that is policed by a receptionist. So that is typically where I would have ended. I would have handed my resume to her and she would have passed it on. This particular day that I went in, dressed nice and everything, in my early 30s. It was like 32, 33. The regular receptionist happened to be away sick or on vacation or something. She wasn't there. There was a fill-in receptionist, and I believe she was a temp from somewhere, so she didn't know the rules. They had stairs. The offices were up the stairs. So I said, I'd like to drop off my resume, see, I don't know if you're hiring at all. This is what I can do. Um, Somebody from, HR in. And she said, Um, yeah, sure, go on up. Okay. And she told me where to go. Yeah, go to at the back, go to ask for, I won't say her real name, ask for Hannah. Okay. So I went, resume in hand, and I found this woman. I was kind of looking around. They're like, can we help you? So yeah, I'm looking for so for Hannah. And she came out and I handed her my resume. So I'm just going around and the comment she made to me was, wow, she goes, "You have real presence. I like you." Anyway, so we chatted for a moment and thanks so much. Off on my way. A couple days later, um, I got called in for a procedure. I think I interviewed with two or three different people, but I got the job and I was hired as initially the administrative assistant to the marketing department. And that's when all my marketing stuff began. My point in telling you that is, even though I was a little nervous, I still went in with that kind of confidence, friendliness, you know, vibrating high. And she said, "Wow, you have real presence." And oddly enough, that's not the first time I've heard something like that. I used to be in a band, and when the internet was first starting to come out, when YouTube was first developing and that kind of thing, I was in a band and I think it was my bass player knew somebody. We got into a professional recording studio where people like Nelly Furtado had recorded. We were in there and I think the guy was just starting some kind of an internet show, and he interviewed me as the lead singer of the band. And he told my husband, my husband was there with me after we were done the interview, and he said, "Wow, whatever it is, she's got it." I'm not telling you to toot my own horn. The reason I'm telling you is because I portrayed a presence. I portrayed a feeling that they got from me. I put something out that they received and said and thought, "Wow, she's got something." And sometimes it's innate. Sometimes it's just who we are. But I know in both those cases, I was loving what I was doing. I loved to sing. I loved being in the band. I loved doing that interview. I loved talking to you, right? So I was like, wow, this guy wants to interview me. So that was really exciting and fun for me. So, and he got that. And I was so excited to be walking into this huge global company, to their Canadian office, and get past the receptionist and go and talk to the HR person herself and be able to give her my resume in hand and said, "Hey, hi, I'm Lisa. I'm looking for work if you're hiring." And I loved working for that company. It was a great learning experience. I loved who I worked for. Um, it was really cool. So those are two examples of times in my life, and just two, because I'm going back a lot of years now. I'm talking about when I was younger, and I'm talking about innate things, loving what you're doing, and that's what comes off. So if you're in a job that you don't love, here's a pro tip to be able to learn to love it. Find one thing that you enjoy about it. If you're in a job that you don't like, you say, "I hate my job." First of all, by just uttering that word past your lips, that's putting out that energy. So you can start with one thing that you do like about it and move on from that and that and that. If you have a boss that you don't enjoy working for, the best things to do is just send that person love, send your boss love, send love their way. Find one thing that you like about them, something. There's got to be one thing that you can like about almost anything in life, and then build from that or focus on that as well, to be able to bring out that vibration or bring out that energy and make that choice and not outsource your happiness, not give it away, keep hold of it. I know I like to use the word control. The word control is a strong word, and it actually, to me, in my opinion, when you're trying to control something, you're keeping it under thumb, you're keeping it you're not letting it grow and you're not letting it release. So yes, I do say, um, be in control of your own menopause symptoms, but I also use it a little loosely. You do want to be control of your body. That much I do believe. It's a management system. Being control is managing. It's not in the way of under thumb and restricted. It's I mean it more in the way of having your body listen when you tell it to do something, right? When you're thinking about being in wellness, like your Marissa Peer, one of my favorite, your body is a wellness machine. My body does wellness, so that you're commanding. I command my body to be well. I know I've shared a lot. I've shared some personal stories here. Hopefully, the point I'm trying to make has gotten across is that you own your own happiness. These are decisions that we make, and they affect how we go out our life, how we go through our life. I'm going to thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of the Menopause Mindshift Self-Love Podcast. Again, I am your host, the Menopause Queen, Lisa R. Triggs. Please remember to start your day with self-love first. Thank you so much. Bye for now.